It's cooler and windier for the rest of this week, but the weekend, the long weekend, is looking fairly warm. Hi, I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you for joining us. We are tracking the end of the cold change we've had for most of this week, especially around the lower South Island. And as we go on towards the long weekend, things really do warm up with nor'westers and connections to the subtropics. So let's make sense of it all on Thursday. There's another surge of cold air, another southerly change that is moving northwards. Winds have turned westerly for a time back here in the north, but they're about to turn more southwest again. Pretty much Thursday and Friday are both looking fairly windy around the country, and this is lunchtime Friday. There's no real change between now and then with the southwesterlies blowing around the country. Probably the biggest difference is that on Friday most of the showers switch from being over here on the western side more to the eastern side, and even then they're really just brushing some of the coastal extremes more so on that eastern side of the country. And down in the south where it's been cold, colder than average for much of this week, look at that. There is a change in the wind flow. So while it's southerlies up until about lunchtime and into the early afternoon, towards the later part of the day, the winds will suddenly swing around, and by the time you go to bed, hopefully that nor'wester is kicking in, because this is how Saturday looks. Much warmer. As I said all week, temperatures are jumping down here in the south on Saturday by as much as several degrees to as much as maybe 14 degrees on where you are right now today with your daytime highs. So 48 hours from now, much warmer, sunnier, and the rain clouds are pretty much stuck only around Fiordland. The rest of the country is looking dry. Now the cooler sou'westers continue around Auckland and some other northern areas for Saturday, so it might still be a little bit windy and still a little bit cool, but by the time you get to Sunday, the winds are doing the same thing. 24 hours later than the South Island, you get the change with the nor'westers coming in, which means you've got a lovely Sunday on the way across the North Island, and especially the eastern side from Canterbury northwards, warmer than average, daytime highs into the 20s. And the winds are a bit blustery. That's the only downside. It might be a little windy in some areas and maybe even up to gale force in exposed areas around Sunday from central New Zealand southwards, mostly through the mountains and the usual exposed places. And then Labour Day Monday, well, that front from the west coast tries to move into the North Island, but it's very slow moving and it's falling apart. So I think on Monday you'll find the clouds increase and you'll get some showers and maybe even some drizzle patches. It's unclear if that will go further north. We'll update you again in our next video, which is out on Friday. We'll double check that. But again, eastern areas are looking mostly dry and sunny. The one negative really is down here in the south. You will get on Labour Day Monday a cooler change. So the west coast, Fiordland, coastal Southland, or much of Southland to be honest, and coastal Otago will be colder, but inland it's still fairly warm, still up to about 20 degrees. And then we get in towards next week, Tuesday, and everyone's going back to work and the weather actually goes downhill. We've got low pressure forming. Now the models aren't sure where that's forming. I've seen it, yesterday it was showing it up in the subtropics, today it's showing it down over the South Island. So I think either way, there's something unsettled early next week, around Tuesday, Wednesday next week. Then we've got more high pressure, which is waiting around as well. And I would expect as we go on towards November, more of those highs should be coming our way, and we should be getting fewer of these colder southerly events. That is all for me. Again, sorry about yesterday. We had no video due to the fire at Sky City. A big, thumbs up to the fire workers, the firefighters, and all the emergency services that are dealing with that at the moment. It's quite a significant event, and the good news is the westerly change blows any remaining smoke and toxins out to sea rather than over the suburbs. So that's a better story, at least for part of today, although on Friday the sou'wester comes back and that does push that stuff up towards the North Shore, Takapuna, towards Devonport area. So hopefully we can get that all under control, the weather under control, and get those winds dying down to really help the firefighters and get that under control. That is all from me. We'll see you again on Friday.